What's happening, everybody? What's happening? What's up to the exam breakdown on Monday, March 24th, 2025. Hope you're all doing well. It's good to be back. Good to be back in the seat to be able to go through some content to help y'all pass those real estate examinations. We are hearing all kinds of good news. Folks passing, folks passing, folks passing. This is great. The point of the channel. My job and sort of what I'm decent at is looking through stuff, trying to figure out how to teach the masses to be able to get through, all understanding that folks have trouble with their exams. So we're here to help. We built this channel to be able to do that. We're so excited. It's been growing like crazy. Lots of great feedback. Lots of folks doing well, moving on from the exam and, making some coin, hopefully. So hopefully everything is going well for you. If you're having some trouble getting through this, if you seem stuck, you've come to the right place. Now, every Monday we do a exam breakdown live stream, which is happening right now. It's 12 o'clock on the East Coast where I am at right now. And we got to go through just a couple of minutes, maybe like 35, 30, 40 minutes-ish. And I go through some content that I am very, very comfortable with the idea that this is probably going to show up. Now, I try to bring it the way that it might be brought. I don't have a copy of your exam, so I basically for 25 years have developed this killer targeting system. I can look at content that it's a part of my DNA, and this real estate content is a part of my DNA. I know it raw. I know it what's up. I've been around the block. I've trained tens of thousands of folks. I've licensed and helped license, thousands of folks over my illustrious career, I guess you could say. But what I am pretty good at is figuring things out sort of real time and then figuring out how to be able to teach virtually anybody. I've been able to help get through these exams. So I don't guarantee your success. I never make those preaches. I've never guaranteed anybody's success so long as I have been teaching people. I don't know how you learn. I don't know what you know. I don't know anything about you. I do know that I have a high level of experience teaching. I've trained over 40,000 hours in the classroom. I know this stuff really, really well. I know finance really, really well. And I know how to make folks pass exams pretty dang good. So my targeting systems are sort of there for you. My team that works with me, we are all pros at this stuff. We research a ton of materials and we know lots of this stuff. We know every provider out there. We know everybody that's testing. We know how everybody's thinking. We know a lot of data from the different states and sort of what they focus on. So, you're coming to the right place. Hopefully we'll be able to do you right as well. All right. At the end of this, I'm going to unleash on you a new thing that we're about to come up with and release to the community. It's going to be this Master Essentials program. That's this amazing masterclass. It's years of content that we've been putting into it, and we're about to launch this thing. And I'm excited about it. You guys are going to hear all about it on YouTube. There's definitely opportunities to jump the line and get in there quickly so you can pass your examinations. All right. Without further ado, what I want to do today is I want to go through our community post questions. A lot of you are working through those. And what ends up happening is every day, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, by the way, do that. You'll, in your feed, as you're sort of like looking through YouTube, will come across a daily question of ours. And we try to focus on exam topics, and then we get the data and we figure out where students were, what they answered, and sort of which ones were wrong and how, frequently they got the wrong answers. And my job here is to go through a couple of those questions and wrap up the week saying, hey, look, this is what we figured out from last week's community posts. Again, subscribe to our channel, and then you will be a part of that community posts. You can go to community at our YouTube channel. If you go to the main page and click on community, you'll see the posts there as well. All right. So these are super useful questions. They're helping folks, make it through. If you're right on the edge, they help you get over the edge, right? So that's the goal here. All right, here we go. Let's get into the first question. I'm just going to look over my shoulder and make sure everything's going well. Looks like we're good to go. Sorry about that. All right, so it looks like we're back online. Everything is good to go. I just had to hit a couple of buttons to get us back on, make sure that we're on YouTube Live. We are all set. We should be good to go. So once again, it's D. Kumar from the Exam Breakdown with D. Kumar Learn Real Estate. It is a pleasure to be with you. Thank you once again for checking out our channel and subscribing to our channel. If you haven't, please consider doing it. Today, we're going over the community posts those questions that are in your feed and some of the more popular ones with answers and the percentage of wrong answers. And I want to do a deep dive into those to see if this is going to help some of the students get through their exams. Hope you're doing well. Let's jump on in and check this one out. All right, so here we go. The legal principle by which ownership of property reverts to the government when a property owner dies without a valid will and no identifiable heirs or beneficiaries is called. And by the way, go ahead and if you want, answer in the comments. You can do that. And if you missed this live stream, you can absolutely catch the replay when we post it, which will be pretty much instantaneously after we go off air. So I'll give you a second to check out the question. The answers are A, probate, B, intestate, C, testate, D, escheat. The question is, the legal principle by which ownership of property reverts to the government when a property owner dies without a valid will and no identifiable heirs or beneficiaries is called. And the answer is letter D, Escheat. Now, 65% of our community answered correctly. Great job. And again, some of these are like telltale signs when you're looking at the question. Let me just pop a pen, get a pen. Bam. All right. So when we're sort of analyzing this, which legal principle by which ownership of property reverts to the government when a property owner dies without a valid will and, as important, no identifiable heirs. When we have that kind of a situation, that is the government power of Escheat. So it's a policing power that we have called Escheat, and Escheat is one of those four: police power, eminent domain, taxation, and Escheat. Many times trainers will teach it as PEAT. That's the initialism or acronym. So PEAT E is Escheat. Remember that, PEAT, P-E-T-E, police power, eminent domain, taxation, and Escheat. Now, check this out. Intestate, 21% of the community picked this as the correct answer. And that's really interesting because you're going to see a question similar to this, and they will absolutely play these phrases inside together. And so all of this deals with estate, with death, with property. Remember, probate is a court procedure or a court system that reconciles a will. So in this particular situation, the property owner dies without a valid will. The estate still has to go to probate, unless there was other estate planning that was created. Intestate simply means that you die with no will. So no valid will, without a valid will, but then no identifiable heirs. That piece is what makes this escheat all day long versus intestate. But intestate is when somebody dies without a will, and then testate is the opposite. So somebody died with will. All right. So if you die with will, or if you die without will, the estate has to be presented to probate, unless the without will piece is we have things in trust, right? So that's why you build those. But I digress. When you're looking at escheat, this has those two prongs: no will and no heirs. Great question. Great job from the majority of our community. And then the other ones were probate and letter C, testate, 5%. I think that's just a clear-cut case probably of hitting the wrong button or not knowing these vocab phrases. So for those that are in that 9% and 5% category, you just got to go back and roll up your sleeves and get to the vocab. Remember, we have a killer 250 question and 100 question vocab for the national pieces of the examination that work in every state, by the way, and tons of views on those, and everybody's happy about those. So watch your vocab as you're going through this stuff. But for those that were letter B pickers, you just got half of this right, and then you didn't see the other half of no identifiable heirs. The next question. In general agency relationship, which of the following is true? So in a general agency relationship, letter A, the agent is hired only for the duration of a property sale. Letter B, the agent has broad authority to handle ongoing real estate related tasks. Letter C, the agent is hired for a specific one-time task. Letter D, the agent is not allowed to make any decisions on behalf of the principal. In a general agency relationship, which of the following is true? I'll give you a second. And the answer is letter B. The agent has broad authority to handle ongoing real estate related tasks. In 53% of our community answered this correctly, so a little more than half. And then there was a sort of a reasonably equal distribution amongst A, C, and D, where these would have seemed good. The number one wrong answer was letter A in the community. The agent is hired only for the duration of a property sale. Well, that's very similar to what a special agent is versus a general agent. Letter C, the agent is hired for a specific one-time task. Again, that is a special agent versus a general agent. Letter D, the agent is not allowed to make any decisions on behalf of the principal. And that's in general agent relationship, that's not correct. So a general agent, there's two simple ones that you can remember for a general agent. The first one is like a property manager is a general agent of the landlord. And another general agent is a salesperson that works underneath a broker. So I'm just going to write broker equals special, and then salesperson equals general. So salesperson is a general agent of their broker. And in that regard, the agent has broad authority to handle ongoing real estate related tasks under the watchful eye as of the broker. All right, so you definitely want to know the definition of what is a general agent and what is a special agent. These are things you're going to see on exams. The next one, what compensation does the government need to provide to a property owner when exercising eminent domain and taking private property for public use? Letter A, the property's assessed value. Letter B, the amount the property last sold for. Letter C, the property's fair market value. Letter D, no compensation is required. The question is, what compensation does the government need to provide to a property owner when exercising eminent domain and taking private property for public use? Give you a second. And the answer? Letter C, the property's fair market value. And a whopping 70% almost of our community picked that as the correct answer. And this is what's the call out here is what's the number one wrong answer. In this case, the clear winner was the 21% that picked letter A, the property's assessed value. And so the majority of folks realized that letter B was just not correct. Okay, the amount the property last sold for. And no compensation is required. Well, we all learned in our real estate classes that there is compensation. It's called just compensation. And it's not the property's assessed value. That's for tax purposes. So assessed value is tax purposes only. Therefore, the only answer is the property's fair market value. As a matter of fact, they go by the fair market value. They don't include things like sentimental value, however. And so when they're trying to determine the valuation of the asset, they're looking at appraisals. You can certainly get your own independent appraisal. You can negotiate these fees. Attorney fees are non-recompensable. And with eminent domain, remember, eminent domain is the right of government. The process through which they take the property is called condemnation. And that's definitely on there. And you want to know that they use the fair market value of the property. Good job. Next question. Sophie is a real estate investor who wants to purchase a property in need of significant repairs and renovations. What type of financing should she seek? Letter A, a home equity loan. Letter B, a rehab loan. Letter C, a HELOC. Letter D, a package mortgage. Sophie is a real estate investor who wants to purchase a property in need of significant repairs and renovations. What type of financing should she seek? And the answer is letter B, a rehab loan, and a great percentage of our community picked this as the answer. A HELOC and a package mortgage. So a package mortgage, and again, I will stress there are definitely weaknesses that I see all the time when it comes down to finance. Unfortunately, it's one of those sore spots for a lot of folks. So you definitely want to know your vocab here. You want to know, what are the different types of loans in this particular example? You want to know the basic definition of a home equity loan, the difference between that and a HELOC, and a rehab loan, and a package mortgage. For those that don't know, a package mortgage combines both both real property and personal property. So that's what they call the package loan or package mortgage. And then the HELOC stands for home equity line of credit. In essence, it's a credit card. It's a revolving line of credit. You pay, you use it, you pay it, you rack it up, and you pay it back down. A rehab loan is what they were looking for here for Sophie, the investor. A rehab loan, an example would be the FHA 203K loan. The home equity loan is very similar to a second mortgage, and it's borrowing all of the equity at one time in the property or the amount that you're willing to take. The HELOC compared to it is you're able to draw down on the HELOC, so you can take a $5,000 disbursement, a $2,000 disbursement, a $10,000 disbursement, et cetera, et cetera. With the home equity loan, you get the entire lump sum, and that's how you go. Excellent. Next question. Which expense is never included in a net operating income, the NOI statement, for an investment property? Which expense is never included in the net operating income statement? Letter A, debt service. Letter B, insurance. Letter C, property taxes. Letter D, management fees. Give you guys a second. Which expense is never included in a net operating income statement for an investment property? This is on appraisal sections, and you're looking at one of the valuation methods, that being the income approach, and that's where you'll find this. If you're looking in your mind's data processor, that's exactly where you'll see it. The answer is letter A. 54%, a little more than half, picked debt service. And this is the classic catch-up. A lot of folks picked management fees. And again, also a decent amount of folks picked insurance and property taxes. Well, B, C, and D are all operating costs. And really, at the end of the day, when you're factoring in NOI, we do not include the mortgage payment or debt service. Debt service is a fancy way of saying the mortgage payment. Or the loan payment. And the reason why is the loan payment or the mortgage payment is not an operating expense. It's debt service. And we factor in and take the debt service payment out later in the analysis. So when you're doing an income analysis, and some folks call it a capitalization rate analysis, right? So you're looking at, they're giving you two of the three things. Or like in an apartment building is generating X amount of rent, you factor in X for vacancies. You do that to ratchet down to your adjusted or effective gross income, and then you subtract out the expenses. And things like insurance, property management fees, property taxes, these are all operating costs. And then you do your analysis. What they always do is they throw in the mortgage payment purposefully to trick you and give you an answer based off of the mortgage payment being included. It is not an operating expense. Now, some students are a little confused as to why. The reality is, all things being equal, if two investors invested into a building, the building costs what it costs. It generates what it generates. The only difference is how the two different investors choose to cut up their investment. Some might put down a down payment and leverage the rest, right? One of the benefits or advantages of owning real estate is you can leverage it. It's highly leverageable, right? So one investor might say, I'm going to borrow against the property and then I'm going to pay it back with the revenue that it's generating. And because of that, that investor chooses to do debt service, to borrow money. And the other investor might pay all cash. Well, no matter what, both investors have the same property taxes, have the same. So you're not getting a benefit of property taxes if you finance it versus pay all cash. So again, it's really the preference of the investor. And therefore, when we're doing the analysis, we don't consider debt service as part of an operating cost. We add that back in when we're subtracting out to see what cash on cash return looks like. So you want to definitely know this because this is going to be one of your tricks. This might be the question to get you to pass. The next question is a type of freehold estate that comes with a specific condition for its use is A. Letter A, fee simple defeasible estate. Letter B, fee simple absolute. Letter C, life estate. Letter D, non-conforming use. The question, a type of freehold estate that comes with a specific condition for its use. I'll give you a second. And the answer? Letter A, fee simple defeasible. Excellent work. Our community, the majority, we got 60% of y'all that picked A, fee simple defeasible. Defeasible simply means, or is the opposite of fee simple indefeasible. And many don't know that fee simple absolute is also referred to as fee simple indefeasible. Therefore making something, and so fee simple absolute is the highest form of ownership recognized by this country's law. It's only restricted by police power, eminent domain, taxation, and escheat. However, if you have an estate and you receive a fee simple defeasible estate, then there is some specific condition that the deed also contains, in addition to being limited by police power, eminent domain, taxation, and escheat. Now, you definitely need to know these. You need to know life estates, you need to know fee simple absolute, you need to know fee simple defeasible when it comes to freehold estates. There is no such thing as a non-conforming use. That's dealing with police power, and that's dealing with that unit. Things like zoning and variances and non-conforming use and grandfathering, those are all those. But interesting, right? 12% of our community were neck and neck tied with either letter D or letter C. So I think that, again, this was a clear-cut case of not knowing the vocab, kind of doing the old Hail Mary pass, right? Like you're all like, this is, I don't know, and I just picked that. So that's when I'm looking at a bunch of tests taken by students, this is what I'm looking at. You can almost see the psychology and why somebody picked non-conforming use. Non-conforming use was just clearly the outlier, didn't have anything to do with this. But I can see why people would say, oh, life estate, because I learned in my real estate class that life estates have some sort of conditioned response when it comes down to it, remainder or reversion. So we learned about that. So I think where you see, 16% of the people picked fee simple absolute, I think, again, that was, you didn't know your stuff here, and that could be why you picked that, because really fee simple absolute in every class you learn is the highest freehold estate that comes, in the United States. Therefore, I would have eliminated this one right away And then I would say, well, that's not even a viable answer. And then I would be like tossed up, if I had to guess, between letter A and letter C. And if you notice, the majority picked 60%. So then I would just say, you need to know the difference between what a life estate is and what fee simple defeasible is. Now, there's two more subcategories of these. Under fee simple defeasible, you have fee simple on a condition subsequent, and then you have something called fee simple determinable. And one is so long as, during, and while, and then the other one is on the condition that. And so you want to know those. Those are a little bit lower probability. I guarantee you're going to see fee simple absolute, at least fee simple defeasible when it comes down to this stuff. You need to definitely know these for your exam. All right, the next one. A landlord hires a property manager to handle the day-to-day operation of a rental property, including advertising, available units, and signing leases. The property manager is working as a, letter A, general agent. Letter B, special agent. Letter C, dual agent. Letter D, designated agent. A landlord hires a property manager to handle the day-to-day operations of a rental property, including advertising, available units, and signing leases. The property manager is working as a, and the answer is letter A, general agent. And this ties back in to the previous section that we were talking about what is the difference between a general agent and a special agent. Remember, I even mentioned then that a property manager is a general agent underneath the for the landlord. And so like they framed this out that way. So a landlord hires a property manager, and I'm thinking, hey, they're a general agent and they handle the day-to-day operations of a rental property, including advertising available units and signing leases. Sounds like a general agent to me. And then the property manager is working as a general agent. Now, a little bit more than half of our folks picked letter A. Good for y'all. And then look at here, special agent. Again, this is a clear cut. I need to know the difference between that. For your exams, I'm just telling you this straight. The only special agent that you need to worry about is the broker. Property managers, salespersons, etc. are all considered general agents. Dual agents, 4% picked it. I think that was just the outlier. A low percentage of folks picked it. I think that's a clear-cut case or argument of I just didn't know the difference. I didn't know what this thing was. And then 16% picked designated agency. And again, those that picked designated agency, that was a pretty high percentage. I would say the learning experience for that is you need to know what the different agency relationships are. Dual agent and designated agent are two different types of agency relationships. They get lumped into things like sellers agents, buyers agents, facilitators, dual agents, and designated agents all kind of go together, and sub-agency. All of those are in that sort of category. And then the general and special agent, again, is the thing. And you see that so many times, and I know this seems so rudimentary many times when students are like, quizzing on this stuff. But the truth is, it's the thing that catches you. And if it's like you're on the line and you just miss this and you get this concept twisted, you'll see it 2 or 3 times on an exam, 2 times in this particular sitting with us, you and I, and boom, if you got it wrong the first time, you're probably going to get it wrong, or you're going to do the opposite if you're not sure, right? It's going to be one of those. So if you're playing the guesswork game, that's it. I'm telling you, these are 2 definitions you absolutely want to know. In addition to that, you want to know dual agent, designated agent, facilitators, seller's agent, buyer's agent, and sub-agent. They're all going to be things that they push you to kind of want to know for the exam. All right. So there we go. Excellent work with these community style questions. You guys did phenomenal at this. The community is doing well, and it's actually doing right by a lot of students because they're getting something in their feed to practice every day. A little bit every day makes a huge difference, right? Even if you can improve by 1% every day, you're just getting there. It's a lot better, in my opinion, if you're focused on trying to pass than doom scrolling. Man, that's just useless. So if you can start studying, focusing on stuff, join the community by subscribing to our channel. Then you'll be a part of your feed. If you want to go to all of them, you just go to our channel. You'll just click on the community tab and you will find all of the questions there. And this was just kind of reviewing some of them, and I hope this was helpful. This format tends to help a lot of students. It's a pretty popular format, looking at statistics and understanding why. I would say the big takeaway out of this is general agent and special agent. I'm telling you, you're going to see that. The other big takeaway was the income approach and the debt service piece of that question. Go back and check that out. I would also say that you want to make sure that you understand how to calculate capitalization properly. That's going to be a big one. And you should be good to go. Know some of those basic definitions that we covered during this session today, and they will serve y'all well. We are about to drop a killer premium study experience coming really, really soon. As a matter of fact, I think we're doing a soft launch this week, and we are so excited about this. This is for students that need to move. For example, I just got done with a private coaching session, but what was on the line? We were talking hundreds of thousands of dollars on 2 large deals, and this individual is getting recruited by a large firm, and the firm reached out to me, and they're like, we need you to take care of this particular person. And, we billed out at my, hourly rate. And basically it was like a 40-hour program, and they ended up paying for all of it. Why? They ended up paying close to $20,000 for my private time to go in there and teach this guy who, had never been in the real estate business at all, and had, I believe, a pronounced case of, attention deficit like we all do. And it was like, hey, we've got hundreds of thousands. It was a developer where many millions more was on the table. And it was the opportunity cost that they were looking at. So they weren't obviously looking at it from the other perspective of cost. So I always tell people, look, it's the results that you're looking for. It has nothing to do with the costs. In your industry, as in brokerage, it is about the results versus the cost of the commissions. It's an easy to hide behind what things cost by saying, hey, it's just a percentage. But the commission objection is a very classic one, and you get paid to deliver the results. And your namesake, your professionalism, your experience, and all of these different things go into contributing to that. So just remember that. Now, our program is killer. It's got a bunch of different bonuses we're going to toss in there, plus including my 200 in the vault questions that I've been honing over 25 years with crazy, lots and lots of experience and practice using these over the years and cherry picking these. So they're coming with that. The quizzes are so perfect and the videos are condensed. The big thing that I've found is I have found that students it's like drinking through a fire hose. You go in and then your brain switches to passive mode when you're in your pre-licensing courses. Because first off, it's overwhelming if you've never studied. As adults, studying something for X amount of hours, 40 hours, 60 hours, 100 hours, whatever state you're in. And now you're unable to understand how concepts link together. You miss something critical, and then you're going to tell yourself, I'll just deal with studying later. And now you're in that sort of spiral of what do I do? Now I don't even remember these concepts. They don't make any sense to me because they're not interconnected in any way. So what we did was we built the stuff, only the stuff, the 20%, if you're looking at sort of the 80-20 rule of the things that you need to know versus 80% of the garbage that you don't need to know to be able to get through exams. So it's killer. The other thing that we did was we have community access to a private community where all of our content is ads free, all organized in ways that you can literally go through everything. It has flashcards. It has all kinds of stuff. The questions are crazy. It has an AI that's been trained to me. So in the middle of the night, if you're confused about something, it's better than the old Chat GPT. It's been trained to understand exactly, with all of my years of doing this, where things are and why. So it's really, really cool. If any of you all are interested, go ahead and leave "I'm interested" in the comments. We will reach out to you. We'll put you on an email list. If you're interested, we'll send you an email when we're about to release that product. It is awesome. This is a masterclass amongst all things, and it's going to give you early access to a couple of amazing things. My 7-figure mindset masterclass inside of that we're working on, sort of the mindset of what it takes to really become successful at this. And then we're also in the process of putting out this new Agent 30-day blueprint of the things that the top producers wish they knew to save years potentially off of your career from what other people learned the hard way. And we've got, some monsters. I'm in the Boston market, and we've got like one of the biggest, if not the biggest monster that's going to be, we're going to be interviewing. And that's the questions that we're posing to this particular person and several other monsters as well. All right. If that's of interest to you, go ahead and say I'm interested, and then we will reach out to you and we will get your email address somehow, or we'll send you somewhere to give us your email address, and we will send out that email when this comes out. And for the rest of y'all, keep working, keep going. This will be useful in every single state, and I hope the time we spent together yields you some success. Good luck with your studies, and good luck on your tests. I'm Dee. It is a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for subscribing to our channel. If you haven't, consider doing so. We will see you on Wednesday for my mortgage loan originators. So every Monday we do real estate. Every Wednesday we do your originators for that mortgage exam, which is also quite the challenge. And we will see you then on the next exam breakdown. Have a great week. Make it productive. Make tons of money. That's what I wish for you. And we'll see you soon. Thanks again, and we will see you in the next session.